Okay. Welcome back, everybody. And I saw I snuck into all the rooms there. Lots of good conversation going on. So thank you for that. And we'll do a bit of sharing of what we found. And I'm just going to start. Actually, I'll bring up the design. So as we talk to it, I can sort of point at it. And let's just start then with, we might as well just go from group one down. So group one, Sandkelp, Talissa, Moma, was somebody going to be able to talk to your issue?
Yeah, that'll be me. So Talissa.
Okay.
So the bus, our issue that we thought about as a group is the bus stop that is located, I think it's Leith Road. Not that it shows up very well on that drawing, but looking at the other diagram.
This one?
No, it is back on the main intersection.
This one.
Was that one and the other one that's just to the other side?
Not this one, yeah, this one.
We picked up both, but we focused on that one that you've got your arrow on at the moment.
Okay. Yep.
So the bus stop's located very close to the intersection, and particularly that turning lane, that left turn lane, and not enough room to allow for traffic to merge if there is a bus stopped at that location, which increases the likelihood of both rear end and side swipe crashes at that location. We think that it is a likely to happen event, moderate risk, which gives it an overall category of being high.
Yep.
Risk category. So the solutions that we came up with would be to look at relocating the bus stop further away from the intersection, and also either full indentation or partial indentation of the bus bay.
Okay. Did you try to categorize those into primary or supporting, or you didn't get to that?
We didn't get to that. We floated a lot of ideas around before we finally settled on one.
Okay, that's fine. And that's the usual way it plays out with an audit, is that you're finding lots and lots of things and flagging them and circling them, and then you start to work through them and flesh them out a bit in your thinking. So that's okay. So did you think of some factors that might increase this crash potential as a risk or decrease it, that if you were writing this up as a full finding, that you might be able to flesh out a bit?
We did. Did I note them down at the time? Probably not properly.
That's okay.
I think it's usually the speed limit. So it is 70 kilometer per hour zone. So it's a high speed zone.
Yes. Yep. So that's right. The speed there is going to influence it. The frequency of buses, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And then if you had, information about turn movements and those
turn volumes. Yeah.
Good.
If I may step in, there are shops around the vicinity, so people might want to cross, and there could be an interface between the people wanting to turn over here and the people who are waiting to cross the road. So
yeah.
So that factor can also come into play.
Yeah, that's certainly something for consideration. I would almost say that that's another issue in its own right. Because we're talking about one being the sort of rear ends and the side swipes with the buses and the other vehicles, and that one is a bit like a pedestrian crash risk. Maybe it could have some influence on that if people were avoiding and the like, but it's almost worthy of its own. I think it's probably worthy of its own risk rating. But well done. That's excellent. Thank you, Group 1. Let's go to Group 2. Now, don't worry if you had the same issue. You can tell us the same issue and maybe explain how you had differences or the same, or if you had something else, let's talk about something else. So Room 2, who do we have? Derek, Braden, Donnie, and crew. Do we have a speaker?
Oh, I can speak to that one if you want.
Good, thank you.
Hey, it's Aranga here. So the next page down, sorry.
Yep.
Looking at that intersection into Devonish Ave, it looks like yeah, sorry, on the straight, is it Monbulk Road? So
Yep.
it looks like it goes. You got a. Yeah, so it looks like it goes straight into a trap into a bit of a right turn lane.
This one?
Yeah, so that looks straight, and yeah, and then you go into like a bit of a right turn lane trap, if that's the right word for it.
Yes.
So yeah, worried that people might not realize that it's not you can't go through from there, so they'll try to merge into a through lane next to it. So that could cause side swipe crashes or potentially rear end crashes as well, as people are waiting to turn right. So yeah, then also the right turn movement can result in right turning crashes as well, either into Devonish Ave or out of Devonish Ave. Again, also, if you go into that next intersection down, it looks like you go from a trap into a straight lane into a left turn lane, and then people might have to merge back into that through lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could cause a few issues there as well with rear ends or side swiping and merging.
Good.
So yeah, I don't know if my team has anything else to add to that one.
Good. Asking the team. That's it. Auditing in teams. But what will we see if they've got anything to add? You've clarified the issue and then you've given us the crash. Any factors you think could increase the risk if you knew more information about this?
Increase the risk. Good question.
Well, it's probably a tough question because you don't have a lot of the information that would probably help you, like how many vehicles are making that turn, and probably also like lighting and, would it be clearer at night and those sort of things.
I thought I'd jump in real quick too. Sorry, I'll just jump in real quick there, Anga. Also, probably like how often there's a bus at that particular stop there, because that would certainly, because people don't want to be behind a bus or the bus pulls out all of a sudden, it's within like a 25-meter stretch, a driver will have to make potentially 1, 2, 3, potentially even 4 decisions.
Yeah.
And that's not even, we don't know what the traffic count is. So if it's a really built up area, even at the relatively low speed of 60 k's an hour, you are, because there's so much decision making in such a short period of time, there's a higher likelihood of some sort of incident, be it a rear end, a side swipe incident. Yeah, that certainly doesn't help. I think as a team, we decided that it's almost certain likelihood for it to occur. And we focused, I think, predominantly on just a vehicle-to-vehicle interaction for this particular finding. So in which case, we believe with a side swipe or a minor at 60 k's an hour that it may be a moderate severity. Obviously, if it was like a cyclist, because we did acknowledge earlier that there's very little cycle facilities available, just side swiping a cyclist are probably a bit more serious to fatal, depending on the circumstances. But we're focusing on vehicle to vehicle, so we've just said it's a moderate severity, which gives us the level of risk as being high.
Good.
So in terms of recommendations, I think that we banded around a few sort of recommendations. They're all supporting recommendations. I don't think any of it's primary.
Yep.
Because we're not like we're not completely separating a right turn, movement. So it's all supporting. So we were thinking, betting around advanced warning signs to say that this right turn lane this straight lane is going to become a right turn lane, or other advanced warning signs. Perhaps delineation a bit clearer that it's going to end very soon. Something along those lines. So I don't know if there was any other recommendations that we also added, Aranga or Braden.
If I can jump in, sorry, Aranga here. Yeah, I suppose like in terms of primary treatments, whether putting in a signalized intersection there as well, or a roundabout, it might be too close to the other intersection, so might need to consider network operations and efficiencies there as well, on top of safety. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, Braden or anyone else.
Well, you've done well as a team there. You've fleshed it out nicely. Explained the issue and the crash. A little bit like the other group, you kind of started adding issues, which it's a bit of a balance in an audit as to where you sort of define it as another issue. You sort of had the trap lane here, and then you had crashes in the turn, and I would almost sort of separate those two just because they're quite a, I suppose, different issue in their own right. So maybe there was two issues there. I did like your thinking around that interaction, and there's complexity and turbulence here, and down here. So that's going to be a more complex task, and they're weaving sort of almost in and out and around these different things that have been produced. So that certainly was well described there. The risk factors, we got some good ones out there, which was good. You risk rated it, so almost certain, probably a little higher in the likelihood than industry would rate that risk. But moderate's probably right. And I like the fact that you were thinking about the specific users involved in those crashes. So you've come through that nicely. And then really great that you were able to identify that everything you are recommending they're supporting, and that's okay. So you didn't have any primary treatments, but that's okay. And really for sideswipe and rear end, coming up with a primary treatment is such a, it's an incredibly hard task. And getting speeds right down is probably about it, or physical separation of lanes, which is a bit odd in these sorts of situations. But it's okay to just have supporting treatments, as you did with it, advanced warning, or you could just make a general statement to realign lanes through if possible. Now, practically, it might be a challenge for them, but that would be a good one to have more of an indented right turn and a more straight through run and clarify those turns. So well done. Let's jump to group 3. I think we're to 3, which is Zaki, Jackson, Maddie, and crew.
Okay, we'll stay on the same slide. The conflict point we recognised was vehicles leaving that length of car parking area in front of the shopping, coming out and trying to merge with that traffic, which is primarily in that left turn lane.
Yes.
So vehicles coming out, looking back over their left shoulder, trying to work out what's going on, possibly blindsided by a bus. So type of accident would be side swipes, possibly rear enders as cars are balking against cars that are coming out in front of them. So that's the type of accident. We saw that as quite a likely event, and a moderate degree of damage, because in that speed environment, probably not likely to be too high, and vehicle damage rather than injury damage.
Okay.
In terms of treatments, we did a lot of toing and froing and backwards and forwardsing. Obviously, some way of separating the car park from the through traffic is really what we're trying to achieve. And one suggestion we had was possibly terminating the bottom car park, the one closest to Devilish, and making that a car park and whether it's possible or not, but eliminating the further car park to the north
Mhm.
and bringing all the traffic out via Devonish, which has then got a controlled T onto Dandenong Road.
Yep.
You're still going to get accidents, of course, but you're controlling the type of accident.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
whether it's
primary.
a primary, I'd say it's probably more secondary. I don't know. You can actually eliminate accidents altogether.
Yep.
So I'd say it's probably a secondary.
Yep. Yeah.
If anyone else wants to jump in and add some extra bits.
Good. Yep. So the supporting treatments, primary doesn't need to eliminate the crash itself. It's more about getting it within tolerable limits and the like. So that would be a supporting, because you're kind of just rearranging where traffic would go. I think it's a good thing to look at, and of course, like, you don't have time and you don't have enough information to do it all properly. But I like the way you've thought that through. Did you come up with a risk rating there? We talked about the risk.
Oh yeah, it'd be high because of a combination of the likelihood and a moderate type of collision would give us a high rating.
Okay. Yep. So you had likely and moderate.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Well, again, you've clarified the issue. You found something first, and I think that's good. Then you've clarified the issue. You nicely described the crash types. The risk, the factors that would increase or decrease risk. So these are almost little preludes into actually getting to your risk rating. So I would say things like, that's going to be worse when there's a bus there, isn't it? Because that'll block sight lines, and it's going to be influenced by the speed, the volume of traffic, banking back, and the volume of cars here and those sort of things. So you might flesh that out a little bit in your finding.
We don't know the patronage of the shopping centre, all that sort of stuff as well.
That's right, not at all. And these are things you'd gather as information before you went into the task and see things on site and get a feel for it. So well done. Okay, let's keep moving on. Thank you. That was group, I think that was 3. So we go to group 4. It's a smaller group. Colin, I think you were in there, and Michael.
Yes. We looked at this slide on the bottom left after the signals on Canterbury Road. Yep, there. You're still maintaining the driveway accesses in proximity to the intersection, including that service station on the southwest side. So there's still a significant safety concerns with vehicles pulling in and out of those driveways and through vehicles coming through the intersection. I believe the so certainly the increased the level of a risk we would see was that there would be an increased risk of rear end crashes, particularly when a vehicle was slowing down to pull in to those driveways, in particular the service center, and a rear end coming from a vehicle going through. We gave it a risk rating of high based upon the fact that, considering it's a service center, it's going to have quite a few vehicles coming in and out of it, a high degree of traffic. And considering the 60 km/h speed, I believe it is, on Canterbury Road, we gave it a moderate severity, which gives it a risk rating of high there overall. Okay. It is also the likelihood is worsened by the fact that at roundabouts you typically have to slow down, or the severity is worsened by the fact that at roundabouts you typically have to slow down before you go through. But at lights, if you got a green, you'll just maintain your speed all the way through. That was raised by someone in my group. Anyone else from my group want to jump in and say otherwise? I'm gonna. One of our recommendations for that was perhaps making the service center access for the one on Canterbury Road, make it exit only. So the entrance coming off Montrose Road probably can be in and out in the
Yep.
slip lane there, as long as vehicles maintain in the slip lane.
Yep.
But in terms of the exit onto Canterbury Road, it would have to be an exit only, not an entrance, which is often difficult to design. But at least if you sort of angle the driveway and have signage, you can at least encourage vehicles to turn left out, and that will remove the risk of a rear end, but you will still have the other risk of a sort of an intersection type crash there for vehicles pulling out and conflicting with through vehicles. But typically that's not as likely because the vehicle pulling out can see vehicles oncoming.
Yep. So do you have that as primary or supporting?
That would be supporting.
Supporting, yeah, that's right. Because we can still have the rear end crashes at the same speed.
Yes.
We're less likely to in your setup.
Yes. A primary would be just closing it down.
That's right.
Which
at that location.
Yes.
But yeah, not unlikely to be practical. But yes, you're right. That would be the primary. That would be a primary.
Yeah.
Good. Well done. Yeah, another good finding and thinking about the use of the land. So I really like that and thinking about how people are going to use it and access it. In and out, nicely clarified on the crash type. Like the fact that you were saying, well, it's going to be slower through there now, and we're going to increase speed of vehicles through here. So that's going to be an influence on the severity. That was really nicely clarified there. And then, yeah, so recommendations, thinking about that, like some people do get caught up in it being almost making decisions on behalf of the road authority and knowing the challenges they may have with service centres and the like. But I think we have the freedom of auditors to be able to suggest this. It's not, they don't need to take it on, but and we can be nice in how we write it, explore the possibility of an exit only arrangement. So we are saying explore the possibility of it because we're aware that something like that's challenging, but it's absolutely worth putting in there. And I think you did a really good job there. Well done. Last group, group 5. Blake, Callan, Mick, Sarah, others. That was the group, wasn't it? Yes. Do we have a volunteer to tell us something?
I can go if
Good.
no
Thanks,
one else in
Mick.
the group wants to.
Yeah, you're the man for it.
So we decided to pick something that no other group did, luckily, which is the pedestrian left turn slip lanes. So in particular, the one that's north and south, if you turn your head to face north.
Yeah.
Particularly the one on the south. So our suspicion is that the shops there will attract a lot more pedestrians at that zebra crossing. The angle of the slip line itself, you can do that at pretty high speed. So the shops as well are really close to the right-of-way boundary. In fact, they're probably on the right-of-way boundary. So there's a possibility that the shops will obscure line of sight to the start of the pedestrian crossing, and also there's a lot of potential for distraction around there in front of the shops with cars maneuvering and people walking around, which takes away time from looking towards the zebra crossing. And also the angle of the intersection is it's bigger than 90 degrees, so people are going to be looking very far back to the right and not looking at the crossing. So that crossing was a bit of a risk. So obviously pedestrians, the possibility of injury goes up as opposed to vehicle to vehicle. So we had that as a high risk there. We basically came up with a few different options. So we had like what we believe is a primary, if we remembered correctly, by raising the crossing.
Yep.
So we had that as one of our options. We had secondary or supporting, which was to make sure sight lines there aren't compromised and that they meet what is necessary. you could go down the path of some additional flashing signs. You could also look at geometry changes for that intersection approach and just delete the slip lane altogether and make it like a fully controlled left turn or a bonus left movement. And yeah, those are kind of what we came up with. The geometry one would obviously be a primary. You'd be converting it to signalized everything pretty much.
Yeah. So, okay, good. So that's an interesting one. Would it be a primary for signalizing the whole thing? Probably wouldn't be. Well, you see, it would if you were just isolated and thinking only about that, almost if your audit was only that. But because we're auditing this sort of entire thing, there's still that pedestrian crash potential because the pedestrians are still going to be crossing somewhere there. So we sort of factor that in a little bit. Because to get to the primary, as you say, you've got to slow down at that point. Mind you, that people will then say, well, hang on, we've still got to cross here, and that's not slowed down either. So ideally, we'd slow the whole intersection down. But raised crossings are in that primary bucket. Signalizing is in a supporting bucket usually because we want to sort of raise things with it. But no, really great, excellent finding. I really liked the discussion there about the speed vehicles will go through, the angles we've got here, and then thinking nicely about sight lines. Well categorized, well thought about severity in terms of vulnerable road users, and coming up with some good recommendations. I think a good example there of how there are lots and lots of ways to lessen risk. And if you had more time, more information, and you're able to get out there and really spend some good proper time on this, you'd be able to narrow them down to a few that you think are actually going to be very beneficial and somewhat feasible, and then put those in. But for the exercise you did there, it was great to hear lots of thoughts and lots of ideas. Fantastic. That's all of the groups. Gee, you did a wonderful job. I mean, you can see there, as I said, a real design. We just picked one that we had in the company folders that had been designed by one of the big multinational design houses, and they're up against huge challenges of services and angles and houses and shops and traffic, model demands and all of this sort of stuff that they're trying to put into a design, and they compromising here and there and changing things. So but it just shows you there's always lots of these challenges and issues and things that we can find, and you did a really good job of doing that. Lots of things that I think what you picked up were very good, and those are all worth digging into more. As soon as you have a skewed intersection like this, as we heard from the final group there, you've got challenges, especially with that turning vehicle, and the stand-up angles here are quite bad. That's going to have some problem with vehicle to vehicle crashes, and then, as was talked about, like just that ability for the driver to look back over their head is a challenge. Interaction with bus stops, close proximity to that will be challenges. I love the idea people were looking at, well, where are pedestrians? We've got lots of pedestrian desire lines here that are being that they have a signalized crossing and that's being removed, asking them to walk all the way down here across. Will they do that? Unsure. We've got weird sort of arrangements here where lanes quickly end, no taper, and the list goes on. So I think it's a wonderful demonstration there of the process of auditing. You did it well, and you took it nicely in the training exercise perspective, that we didn't give you enough information to do it as a real one, but you've done well. Another great question there from Tash, prize-worthy question, I think, of, well, what about cyclists? There are no cycle facility whatsoever, and that would make an excellent audit finding. And we'll, as you work through the prompt lists, which we talked about, you'd be forced to think about that you go, oh, all right, there's no cycle facilities whatsoever. How are bikes going to get through here? And this actually is quite a bit of a training bike area, especially up Mount Dandenong Tourist Road here, for those who know the area. so you do get quite a few bikes there, and there's really been nothing for that consideration. So fantastic question, prize-worthy question. Okay, I think we're going to have a short break, and then I'm just going to do a final little bit of presentation for you, and then we'll have you out early enough that you can get stuck into your final assignment and move that along a bit, because you should be progressed with it, and I know some of you are not quite there. So let's just take 4 minutes, and then we'll get back into it. Okay, so just a few things from me, just more around the administration of road safety auditing across Australia, New Zealand, a little bit about what happens in some other countries, but also then some things around legal liability associated with auditing or procuring audits. And I'll jump into it and I'll show you a few things here. So the different jurisdictions have different auditing accreditation systems. So I'll take you through a few of those. I'll show you how to register as an auditor. I'm actually going to show you for Victoria, Queensland, New South Wales, and South Australia. So because I know we've got people from all over the place, and this course is recognised in all of those jurisdictions. And some potential legal risks. So let's start with those legal issues. I have a disclaimer down here because this is I'm not providing you legal advice. I'm just telling you a few things that have popped up as legal issues for auditors or those procuring audits in the past, and some things that, especially my time managing road safety audits for the Victorian government, we came across. So as a road safety auditor, and you're all getting close to becoming a road safety auditors, some potential legal issues could be if you were to conduct what we call client-focused road safety audits. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, if you're ever found to be watering down audits intentionally because it makes the client's life easier, or you don't find things on purpose because or remove things out of a report on purpose because just it's going to be hard, we have the process for dealing with that, and it's simply that it's still there and you provide recommendations and you try to help, and then they respond to that. Now, I haven't it's very hard to sort of prove any of that, but the fear is sort of always there that, I don't know, like a big new hardware chain's coming into Australia, and that the traffic engineers say, well, we've got to do 100 of these over the next 5 years. So if you look after us in all the audits and only recommend signs and line changes, then we'll give you lots of audits. And if you are, found to be engaging in that sort of stuff, of course, that would be a potential issue. Now, inadequate brief. Well, you're not writing the brief, and you're not, but you are receiving the brief. And if it really doesn't give you enough information to be able to do your audit, or you're not collecting that information through the process, you could be an issue. Now, again, a hard one to sort of prove. But if you were asked to do a detailed design road safety audit, and you were, not given the detailed designs, you're only given preliminary or some concepts, and you didn't get the geometric design and the signs and the pavement and all those sort of things, it's very hard to do a detailed design road safety audit. Of course, misleading your qualifications or experience in most industries can put you into a bit of strife. Then not following the correct process. Now, we have here day and nighttime inspection. Now, it's the discretion of the client there, really. I mean, you're going to have to go to site for 99.9% of your road safety audits. Going out at night will be the discretion of the client. But if you're asked to undertake a daytime and nighttime inspection by the client and you don't do that, you could be in trouble. And that's, visiting the site as well. So if you are asked to visit the site, which is the expectation of almost all road safety audits. As I say, the only one that is not is a feasibility stage audit. There's a option to not go to the site. So you're almost all road safety audits, you're out on site. If you don't go to site and you do it from street view, that's a pretty clear one that you could get some be in some strife for. And not following your own quality processes, as most organizations have, that that things will be reviewed and you have some sort of quality management system. Then when it comes to the actual finding issues, did you find, should you have found this or not? Well, that's left to the courts as what they call, a reasonable assessment. Reasonable is that term that's used in legal. It's sort of legal jargon in that sense, and it plays out in court. Would your peers have identified a similar issue and those sorts of things. But the advantage you have is that as you start, you go out there and you audit in teams, and you get some further mentoring from a senior auditor in that audit team, and you start to calibrate and you should do quite well there. The possible legal issues if you are buying a road safety audit, so you're like a road authority or you're I suppose a traffic engineer developer working for a developer, and you get the audits in. If you intentionally hold back information that could help them do their job, that could be an issue. If you request recommendations, or more like if you tell them to remove things out of their audit report, they've identified something and you say, get rid of that we can't possibly do anything about that, take it out of the report, that could be an issue. Duty to do something with the report that you've received. You don't need to actually, agree with the recommendations of the audit team, because you may not have the funds or the like, but you need to either accept, reject, or defer, and just justify that in that comment section. And if you do accept it and you're going to do something, that change actually has to happen. Some way of prioritizing things, it helps a bit. The audit comes in risk ratings, so you can prioritize your highest risk, but you're going to have to think about some of their recommendations are going to cost a huge amount of money and some are not. Which ones do you decide to do? So some sort of thinking and logical process around that. And then it comes down again to reasonable process. The courts are absolutely okay with the fact and understand the fact that there is not unlimited funds out there, right? So they know you can't do everything, but what they're not okay with is no process or system or way that you're logically thinking through how you will expend your limited funds. So that's what they would want to see. Okay, so well, pop any questions you've got around legal liability either into the chat, or you could raise your hand, or you could just unmute yourself, and we would be able to talk about it. So feel free to do that. I'll give there's lots of opportunities, but I'm going to talk you through now road safety auditor accreditation. And we do have floating around somewhere, and it may be in the learning management system. If not, we might upload it. It's a bit of a summary of the Australian jurisdictions and what they have as requirements to become a road safety auditor or a senior road safety auditor. And I'll go through these one at a time, but this is just a snip from that summary sheet. So I thought I'd put that in there, but it'll be easier as I go through it a little bit one at a time. So I mentioned there that most jurisdictions have these levels of auditor accreditation. You start off as a road safety auditor, and then you graduate up to become a senior road safety auditor. Some jurisdictions talk about lead road safety auditors, and that's usually just a senior road safety auditor who is appointed to lead an audit team for that audit. So it's not their qualification as such. They're just, they're just team leader of the audit for that particular audit. So you might have, 3 senior auditors in the team, and one of them just appointed as lead auditor for that audit. So I'm going to talk about Victoria first, and then we'll jump around some of the other jurisdictions. So what you need to become a road safety auditor is you need to do this course and you need to pass. Now you're all well on the way to that, but you're going to need to finish your quizzes, and you're going to need to finish that audit report and get over 80% and get that certificate from us. And then you're going to need, it says here, some experience in road safety, engineering, road design, traffic management, or road user behavior. Now, having looked at where you're all from and you're all meeting that category. The Victorian one is quite an easy entry level. In the Victorian one, you're also going to have to do a short e-learning module, which you'll be sent a link to after this course. That's just some assurance that you've picked up, that the government just wanted some further assurance you picked up the right things. That's not the case in some other jurisdictions. To graduate up to a senior auditor status, you need to do this course or an equivalent course that's approved. You need 5 years experience. And you need to do 5 road safety audits with a senior road safety auditor to get that mentoring and experience. So in Victoria, and anybody from anywhere in the world can actually register themselves on this, vrsa.com.au. And you go in there, and the first thing you'll see is a disclaimer that you've got to agree to continue. And the disclaimer says, there's a big list of auditors on here. We can't guarantee any are any good. Okay, we just tell you that they've completed a course and they've got a certificate for that, and they've shown us that they work in the industry. That's all. That's all that this list does. So you go in and agree to that, and then you can, search for auditors, register an auditor. You've got some other information tabs in there. So you will be, first of all, registering as an auditor, and you'll register as a road safety auditor, unless you've done audits in the past and you're doing this as a refresher or to see what, some of the Australian jurisdictions do, then you'd register as a senior auditor. And then you upload some information, your name, organizations and departments and things like that, and contact details. You'll notice over here you can hide stuff from the public if you don't want the public to see any of that. So you go through and you fill all of that out. You're then able to log back in at different points to add information and change things. So there's a sort of login there as well. vrsa.com.au is where you're going to go. The public and everybody can go into this as well, and they could search for an auditor. So you click on that, and they could search by name, by organization, by area of required expertise. Now, take this with a grain of salt because it's self sort of populated. A lot of people sort of tick most things. So just take that with a bit of a grain of salt. And then you just get a big list of auditors and their organization, their email address, phone number, status. Pending would just mean that they've either just applied and somebody's going to have a look at it at some point, or they've dropped out of, or they've uploaded something recently. So if we go in here and click on me, hang on, where am I? No, I'm down here. There I am. Click on my name, then you'd see sort of active, senior road safety auditor, some contact details. If you want to hide all of this, you can. Some professional experience, the expertise. Now, I've done a lot of audits in my time, so I've got most of them ticked. I didn't tick worksite traffic management plans. I still don't. I don't know. I've done a handful of them in my time. I try to avoid them if I possibly can. I've got colleagues who love doing them. So, but yeah, other was originally just put in there as a holding line in case we wanted to put like, you know, autonomous vehicles or e-scooters or something popped up that we, that was different. Regions available to work. Well, they're just Victorian regions. And then this is all you see and upload as past audits. You know, they see information about where the audit was, what your role was, the date it happened, who the client was, and what type of audit it was. So stage one, that's a feasibility bike audit. That was, what was that? Phillip Island. So that's Anderson to San Remo bike path in the feasibility stage, early stage. So that was that one. So that's all they'll see. In the background, there's a bit more information, but you don't actually upload any audits. They can audit the auditors if they want, and then they'd request the copies of the audit report from yourself and the client. And a copy of your certificate there. So that's how you register in Victoria, vrsa.com.au. So South Australia, we go to DIT. Actually, I'm going to jump out of this, and I'm going to show you this actually live. I think is going to be better because I grabbed that, because that one I've still got the old DIPTY. So let's go to DIT. So the South Australian government, and it's under the pre-qualification for infrastructure and transport. And they've got a whole lot of things here. General stuff, building and all of that. Right down the bottom is where we get to our road safety stuff. So we've got the auditor pre-qualification, and you could click on register there, and you would be able to get a form, and then you would you would just send that in. Actually, I'll just click on it and see what pops up. Okay, sorry, that's the register itself. And you see they just list everybody. It's a PDF. But this is the one, the maintenance and application form. So that comes in as a Word document, and then you just fill that out and email it in. Sorry, it's opening on another screen at the moment. Oh no, there it is. And they've got a bit of information in there. So you can download that one. And again, they accept this, and you can send it through with your information. So then if we go to Queensland. So Queensland has all the auditors listed. They start with the road safety auditors, and then sort of halfway down the page, I think I just went past it, they've got the senior road safety auditors. So it should be there. Oh, I hope I'm still on there as a senior auditor. I am. There I am. So, but you don't get to click on anything and see more information. It's just a list of the auditors. And right up the top again, this is where you apply using the application form and a maintenance form. Now, in order to be an auditor, a road safety auditor in Queensland, just entry-level auditor, you do need 5 years experience in industry. So you don't need to have completed audits, but you need to be, 5 years experience in industry, and you fill out this form. So that's a bit of a hurdle to jump over. That information is in there. And New South Wales is our last one, Register of Road Safety Auditors. You can get all this by Googling. And then they've got a register, and you put your information in. They have level 1 auditors, and that's just a normal road safety auditor. Level 2 is a senior road safety auditor. But they actually, how I said senior auditors that can be lead, and they usually just say, well, your lead for this audit, they actually require you to do a lead auditor course. It's an extra thing in New South Wales to get to that level 3. And so you can search for auditors with relevant professional experience and the like, and lists of auditors, or you just register as an auditor and you put your information in here. Okay, so that's the auditor registration. I'll go back to my PowerPoints and just check that I covered everything I wanted to off there.
You're loading that up, Ken.
Yeah.
We do have some attendees from the Middle East, and a question came through if you have any recommendations, how they can sort of register. They don't tend to do a lot of safety audits, road safety audits, but if you have any sort of recommendations for them.
Yeah. So road safety audits are an international practice. And actually, I'll stop sharing because I'm pretty much done with that. And there are road safety auditors in the Middle East, and it's certainly something that they're trying to build more and more of. Certainly some of the government agencies have had training in road safety audits in terms of both doing them, but also procuring them and what they should be looking for, and then the advantages they have. So it's worth talking to your road agencies about whether it's something they're interested in. So talking to the road safety areas, I certainly know there's interest in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and those sorts of areas. I don't know too much about too many of the areas, but then it may be something that you can add as an optional extra in part of bids and tenders and the like. So you've got the some part of the work, and you could offer that partnering up with others and saying, well, let's put it in as an optional extra and give them some information about auditing, and they may have heard of it and take it on. So that's one way to do it. Certainly, if you're in a jurisdiction that doesn't have a long history of road safety auditing, it's often hard to find that senior auditor to do audits with, and you then end up pulling together an audit team of just road safety auditors. The stuff I mentioned before is very much around the Austroads practice, so Australia and New Zealand, and certainly I've been running the audit course recently in Canada that doesn't have a culture of road safety audits, and there certainly it's going to start with people who are like yourselves, who are new to auditing, haven't done audits before, but they're going to get out there and they're going to use the process, because there aren't enough senior auditors to be able to form these teams. So that's understood.
Thank you. I do have one more question in the chat. So in regards to New South Wales requirement, just wondering how a person carries out an RSA without registration, as a minimum requirement to be an auditor is to carry out one audit. Yeah.
So that's the old, you can't be a sailor without going on a boat, and you can't go on a boat unless you're a sailor question. So that's right. So you have to go and be part of a road safety audit team, utilizing just your certificate, and say that you're a road safety auditor in training or something like that. So the one you're going to do, or you're currently doing, doesn't qualify because it's a mock audit, because you haven't sort of gone through the full process and the like. But you can, especially for New South Wales, just call yourself road safety auditor in training, utilize the certificate, certificate of completion this date, and that is considered okay to do that first audit to get you there, and then you're an auditor from there on, or level 1 from there on. Great questions. Any other questions around this, what you can do, what you can't do, how you get on these registers? happy to answer those now. But Loretta, how about you show everybody how to finish the course off while they think if they've got any final questions, and then I'll just do a final little wrap up and we'll be done.
Yeah, sure. And just on that, for those that did indicate they wanted to register on the VRSA, I will send out an email to those attendees as well with further information to do that e-learning module. Just share my screen, won't be a moment. Alrighty.
Good, we can see that.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so we're on the last module, module 5. Luckily, you've completed your group exercise today during the session, so you don't need to do that one now. But Ken did reference earlier the jurisdictions. There is a PDF here that you can view all of those states there. I think that was the one you referred to.
Yes.
Earlier.
Thank you.
And also the last thing you need to do is the quiz. So there is a quiz, and thank you to the person who realized we didn't have Wally's in the first couple of slides, but there may have been some in there. Yeah, just attempting that quiz and finishing that off. A reminder for your assignments, I think it was module 4. Yeah, your module 4 assignment, your site visit, that is due, and to complete the course next Thursday. So Thursday, the 9th of November. So last thing, completing the quiz. And then I just wanted to run through this last section with you all. You do need to complete the feedback. There is a few questions to give us a little bit of feedback on the course, how, anything you think we could improve. We always like improvement. So ensure that you fill that in, because you won't have access to your certificate unless you fill in the feedback and complete all of your tasks. So ensure you complete all the tasks, complete the feedback form, and then you can download your certificate. One last thing I do want to share with you. So if you click on the bottom here where it says share your achievement online, we do, often see people wanting to share on LinkedIn or other social platforms, that they've completed a course, because it helps them with networking and so forth. But we've made it a bit easier for you. So what you can do is click on there, and we've, put together some badges that you can download. So we do have 3 badges here for road safety audit that you can download, all 3 or 1 at a time. And you can save it, and then you can post it onto whatever social platform you'd like. We also have some words that we put together for you, just so that you can, again, just copy and paste and let everyone know, why you did the training and why it's important. So feel free to use that. It's all there, and don't forget to tag us, of course. You've completed the course through Safe System Solutions, so please ensure if you're on LinkedIn that you do tag us, and that way, you can also see any other courses that you may be interested in. But I think that's all from me. Did I miss anything there, Ken?
No, you did really well, and I'll just echo that with the do proudly share your achievement, because we want you out there doing lots and lots of road safety audits. So we'll share that and like it, and comment on it to make sure others realize that you have the ability now to assist and be part of road safety audit teams and the like. So a couple of final things from me. I do think that road safety is one of those just incredibly important things that's often overlooked in our desire to build stuff and quickly get designs out and the like. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to improve society, improve the safety of our community. And I think it's so wonderful that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to be part of the community of people trying to improve the safety. It's such a devastating thing, road trauma, and through technical analysis and engineering solutions, we can really significantly lessen it. So thank you for being part of that, and take that on proudly. Really talk to people about auditing and the value it can add. Be the one that sort of says, are you sure we're comfortable with that from a safety perspective? Should we relook at that. And if you see really glaring things out there on the network that you, from your learning and from your understanding, say that's really going to cause death and serious injury to our community, tell the road authority, tell them about it. Use the fact that you are a road safety auditor, add that to it. It gives it a little more clout, and they'll really consider doing something about it, which is what we need to make happen. I have been doing road safety stuff for a long time now, so I've got a lot of reports and information and contacts out there. So if you are in positions where you're doing things and you're struggling for information or you want to know if others have done it, just shoot me an email or make sure you're connected with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a message. I can quickly connect you up with somebody or flick you a report or give you an answer for a lot of things. There might be some that I've got no idea about, and I'll just tell you that. But certainly I want to share as much of that information as possible. We do that through, we also do these safe system snippets through Safe System Solutions. So it's worth following Safe System Solutions on LinkedIn, so you get those regular updates of technical stuff associated with road safety engineering, auditing, and the like, just to keep you up to speed on different bits and pieces. So I want to thank Loretta and team for all the work behind the scenes. You do an amazing job. There's always so much to do. And so thank you for all your work there. And I do want to remind you that you've got access to senior auditors to help you, to coach you, to guide you as you're finishing off your final assignment here. You're not out there without any help. Please just shout out if you want a bit of assistance. But otherwise, thank you again, and good luck with all of your future endeavors, and let's save some lives out there.
You can. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.